Mr. Bailey Kobe, how are you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic. I'm super excited to talk with you, Eddie. It's really exciting.
Thank you so much for being here. You have a new film out that you directed called Ragdoll that takes place in the MMA world. Now, I would call this a drama for sure, but there's definitely a bit of action in it. And I mean, with MMA, there has to be, right? But there's also like some quality humor in the movie, and not like cheesy slapstick kind of comedy, but like real world, just everyday kind of dialogue that really just sticks with the tone of the movie. So, after reading the script, I mean, what were your intentions on the type of film you wanted to make?
What we got was a gritty, sports story, and it was female-led, and that was exciting to me. And Shannon Murray, the lead, it's actually something that I produced with in the past, and she brought me the script. She said, "I need to play this girl," and I was like, "Yes, I haven't seen this girl. Like, we all grew up in MMA and in martial arts, and kind of like I'd never seen that girl before in a movie." And so I was like, "Yes, these are the girls that are in my gym. They're working their ass off. Maybe they're in the gym for not a great reason. Something happened, or there's a lot of reasons why they get in the gym." And I was like, if I can make the story about that, about the violence in the life that got them to the gym, that's what I'm interested in. And so we were off after that.
So you said you grew up in martial arts. What exactly is your background?
I grew up like back. It's like back in the day, it was just like everything was so like stylized. So it was just like you had Kenpo, you had Taekwondo. So it's like I did Kenpo with David Torres, who came out from Ed Parker. And so I did that as a kid. Like, my mom kicked my butt into there. It was like learn discipline, learn how to be, controlled and focused, and all these great things that martial arts promise, to be. And I think it does for young men and for young women. And so it was a very great experience. And then I kind of, when I grew up, I did a lot of traveling. I was in Russia, and some Russian friends were showing me these videos on their phones, and I'm like, what is this? Like, these people were like hitting each other like hard, like not holding back, and moving in ways I had never seen before. And they're like, this is Sistema. This is like the Russian, distillation of all the best martial arts into the killing style that
Wow.
they teach the Spetsnaz guys. I was just like, oh, cool. And so I looked up like who teaches this, and there was like at the time there were two people. One guy was in Toronto, and one is in Beverly Hills, where I live nearby. And so that's Martin Wheeler, who teaches Sistema out of the academy, he partners with Higa Machado, who does BJJ. And so it's just like a phenomenal place. It's just like a real epicenter to learn and train. And so I've been training with him and Manami Matanis, sort of has been learning under him. And he came out of Hickson Gracie. And so he's like, just this black belt, badass. And then like you kind of add the Sistema to that. And like, it's amazing how they move and how they think. And it's such an interesting sport when you see the world through their eyes. So I've been with the academy off and on. I'm not by any means very good at anything other than really enjoying the sport.
Okay, so have you ever competed in any of the disciplines at all?
Like in Kenpo, I got my trophies, like kind of stack up, and that was, it was great. Again, you get to learn a lot about, yourself and preparation, and I learned so much doing those tournaments, and intensity, and it was a lot of fun. Really, when you're a kid, just to compete for things, punching, kicking, so it was a lot of fun, and did okay, but again, like it was just more to enjoy the sport. It was just something I was passionate about to explore and augment into my life. I just never thought it was good enough to try to do what you did. Oh my gosh, like get into professional. I saw that pro fight. We can talk about that later, but holy cow, man, blew my mind.
I had to see what it was like going from a journalist who covers the sport and interviewing the fighters to actually me myself putting myself out there. I had to do it. I definitely had to do it.
And you beat the guy. The cow.
Yeah, I managed to come away with the W. 100 seconds in, it was a crazy experience, and I'm really glad I went through with it because it was tough. It was definitely tough.
Yeah. Seriously, it really changes the mindset to get to that point. And so that's what we learned about, with our characters. Like, you build up this confidence in the ring, in sort of the ring and in sort of this controlled environment. And does it work outside of that environment? Can you win in that same way in your life And I think we have a mentality that through sports stories that, like, yeah, if we stand over the body of our, of the people that we've beaten, we won. It's like, in real life, you go to jail. Like, there's
Right.
consequences. There's, it's a bit more complicated than that.
So in the movie, you brought in Shannon Murray, like you said, to play the protagonist Nora, and I feel like she absolutely nailed this part. I mean, you get just such a feel for her character, who has like a pretty rough life. Like, she's taking care of her sick mother, and it seems like the bulk of her encounters in her day-to-day life are just unsavory characters, and like her attitude really reflects that. And she really just tries to channel it through martial arts. So you said that she actually brought this part to you. You didn't seek out her for this?
Yeah, like, she said, I want to be an actor, and I'm like, that's awesome. And, like, you need to find great roles that really sort of meet you where you feel that you have a great passion for. And when she found something that was, based in this world where martial arts, because she studies at the Yard, Muay Thai, here in Los Angeles, and so, like, she was just, like, really passionate about the sport as well. And so it's just like, great, we can kind of find resources to make the story work. But it was that kernel of, like, really understanding these characters in a fundamental way and what the sport means to them. As you said, it's a way to get away. It's a way to focus. It's a way to reflect back on, what's going on in your life in a very Zen kind of, like, way. You're really working on yourself in the gym, not just physically, and who you work with really has an impact as well.
Now, when it came to casting, everyone else in the movie, how did you go about finding people that could portray martial artists, and how much training did they have to go through for their parts?
That was the real tough part. We're an indie film, and we worked with Martin Wheeler actually came on as my son's coordinator, and to go out and cast. There were a lot of big name actors who wanted to play these roles because I think they saw within these real opportunity to play really, really great dramatic roles. But, we would do these casting sessions, and I would say, okay, now punch this bag. And it was like it was sort of a litmus test of where, if you really weren't living that ethos, if you really didn't work out, you weren't really striking well, or you weren't, your form would show that. And so we kind of had to really start to slim down who we were looking at, because we wanted to have no stunt doubles. We wanted to, these girls to actually do the moves, because my intent was not to do these big, massive stunt choreography without getting very close up and into the mindset of what's going on. Because, like I said, even when you're just training, when you're with somebody, you're doing this thing, and then there's a relationship that's going on between you, and there's stuff maybe that, maybe you guys were having like a fight earlier, so maybe things weren't working out, or maybe things were working out, and so maybe you're being a bit lighter. So there's a relationship that's going on every time you're touching somebody and you're working against somebody. And I wanted to show that, because that's far more interesting to me in a dramatic way, to show fight sequences as drama scenes.
And that's real life. I mean, anyone who's ever trained or had teammates, they know it's not all sunshines and rainbows. Like, sometimes you guys get along and sometimes you don't, and that can spill over into the way you train with each other. So I definitely relate to that. Now, the characters in this movie, I mean, they're quite layered. Like, the audience can really see why people react the way they do. And it almost, like, some of them are, like I said, unsavory, but you kind of get a glimpse of why they're that way. From the pharmacist to Nora's coworkers to even her teammates. So what was the reasoning behind that, giving so much depth to the characters and not having just, happy-go-lucky, like, perfect people?
I think that's just a personal style. I love characterization, and again, I wanted to try and get deeper into these characters' lives, and it was kind of in this story a theme of, don't always judge people by that initial sort of thing that you're looking at, or that moment that day, or that person that cut you off in line or something like that. There's something going on with that mentality. How they ended up doing that got them to the point of, it's not normal, because they're being pushed in some way, and we're not always seeing that with people. We're quick to judge and judge in ways that we think we don't see the full picture, and that's something that I wanted to, as a theme, play out. And so, as you said, every character has a bit of a layer to it that we kind of give a peek to, whether that's they're dealing with loss, or they're on some medication, or they're like these like little things that really stimulate the challenging behavior that our characters seem to see, which we interpret as that person's crazy, that person's mean, or they, they're a jerk to me. And then you start reflecting on your own shit. You're like, am I good enough? And that's what happens to the character. She's great. She's good enough. She just doesn't quite see it because she's reacting to these things of lacking in empathy.
So like we said, Nora's really using martial arts to channel just the burdens of life. And I really enjoyed the way you would take some of those just rugged moments and you would like transplant her into a training setting. Now, was that just a way for you to kind of reinforce how much of an escape martial arts can be?
It's definitely, again, it's getting into that headspace and understanding that a lot of times, like, when I'm training, I start getting in there. Like, I don't know, like I'm dealing with a thing and then like, it's a bit pure, but then like, I don't know, there's something about working through pain, working through a lot of issues through the physicality of martial arts that I felt that it's a bit cathartic in a way. And so that was a way to demonstrate the catharsis of martial arts. But also, it's just the mind is struggling, is trying to grapple with the reality that they're dealing with.
Now, in the movie, there's so many like actual real world techniques on display. I mean, submission chaining, rear naked chokes, defense, knee bars, flying arm bars, omoplatas. I mean, it's even down to some of the, while they're training, wearing silicone wedding bands. And that's such a fine detail that, I mean, probably gets glossed over by many people. But like how much, of course you have a background in it, but how much research did you have to do on top of what you already knew to kind of prepare for an MMA kind of movie?
Well, that's the great part of working with actors who also are in this world and steep in this world. They're helping to make decisions about the character. So I sit down with each, actor and we talk about like everything about that character, what's going on with them, what they're wearing, why are they wearing it, and get to that wedding band. That's exactly a decision, that we came to. It was like, okay, you're gonna be the ring. Are you gonna wear it? No. Like I know people and like, they do the silicone one. I'm like, genius. We're gonna get one of those. And so it's about working collaboratively. It's a collaborative art form. And so when you're working with great people who know the world, who love the world, they're going to express what they know about that world.
Now, the big tournament at the end, I think $100,000 is on the line, and it's a women's only tournament. Do you think this film will help inspire women to take up martial arts and maybe see it as a way to help channel whatever they have going on in their own lives?
I think that, what I try to do is I try and tell stories and root them in some sort of reality. And I certainly do it. I hope, and it's funny because at a lot of the screenings, we get a lot of women in MMA who come out to the screenings and they dig the film in such a profound way because, again, it's portraying this in a different light that they haven't seen. And my old professor, Viet Nguyen, who's a Pulitzer Prize winning novelist, he sort of always stresses this thing called narrative plenitude. And so, meaning that, like, if we're telling stories, I'm not going to get the perfect, MMA Rocky, basically. But I'm going to try and approach things so that somebody can come to the film and see a version of themselves or see, something about it that they can appreciate and understand. And so if that inspires them, awesome, because I think it is a rad way to kind of get in there and get physical and understand your own body, which I think is important, and your own strength. That's a lot what the story is about, is understanding your strength and where that strength needs to be reined in, and where it needs to be expressed to defend yourself in situations that I think are just kind of everyday.
Well, what do you hope is the biggest takeaway from the audience after watching this film?
I think there's going to be a lot of different takeaways we've found from audiences because a lot of different people see a lot of different things. I find it so interesting, whether that's, the Asian males, because I have Dante Bosco, who's an Asian male romantic lead, and so it's just like, I was like, why hasn't, like, it's like, I know Dante, so I'm just like, why has nobody cast Dante as this? Because he's such a charming guy, and it's just like, I was like, you need to play this, and so he graciously accepted, and it's just like, and it's funny because then, like, Asian males see it a very different way than, perhaps a woman, or, there's, everybody sees this story in a very unique, different way, because I think the layers within the characterizations, and they kind of latch on to a specific character, and they say, oh, like Roxana Sanchez, this badass Latin American fighters, like, Latin American audiences go like, oh, hey, cool, Like there's representation, and they catch on to her track of the story because she's dealing with a lot of stuff with her husband and control issues. And even though she's a badass and a fighter, she has somebody that's manipulating her to a degree. And so that's a challenge for her.
I definitely dig it. I think you hit a home run here. Well, how can people watch this movie if they want to get involved and check it out? What is the best way for them to do so?
We have a limited theatrical release, February 21st. It's going to start in Los Angeles. And then it's going to go on iTunes and across VOD, all the cable platforms, on February 25th. So we're just now getting into the big ramp up, and people will be able to see it very soon. Again, February 21st in theaters, and then February 25th from the comfort of your own couch.
Awesome. Well, is there anyone you'd like to give a special thanks or a shout out to?
My gosh, just the cast, the crew. Natalie Morgan is a pro Muay Thai fighter who has a fight coming up, and she was in the film. She plays the commentator, and she was awesome. Champion Athletic Wear was really fantastic for us and provided a lot of the outfits, the MMA outfits that the people were wearing. Cassandra Lee, Katie Schwartz, like all the people that you see in the background in those gym scenes and stuff. Like, they're badasses. Like, they're not professionals, but they love the sport. They're in it. And it's okay that they're not, on a track to be a pro. They just love the sport, and they're in it. And I love those people because, they're building a fun atmosphere and a great atmosphere in those gyms that we go to, including Submission Factory, where we shot. Jay Tan of University of MMA, who kind of hooked everything up for us in terms of, like, getting production with Tony Padilla over at Spar Star. Both in Los Angeles, do events in Los Angeles. And just I want to thank the MMA community for embracing us and enjoying this story that's a bit different.
Awesome. Well, how can people follow you yourself along your journey? What are your social media handles?
Just at Baykobe on Instagram. And you can kind of keep track of what's going on with me and hopefully this film.
Well, your film Ragdoll, it will be out February 21st in select theaters and then across all cable platforms, iTunes, like you said, February 25th. Directed by yourself, Mr. Bailey Kobe. Thank you so much for taking out the time. And I want to thank you for making a film in the MMA world that isn't cheesy and really depicts how martial arts is a healthy escape from life's burden. So best of luck to you in all your future endeavors.
Thank you, Eddie. It's been a pleasure, man.